Welcome to the channel. I had a few people ask what were my opinions on this. Never used it, so let's see. This is not going to be a after 1 month review. This is going to be an unbox. I'm going to test it out and give you my thoughts on it. With my unboxing process, I do it the way how most of us will. Hear the instructions. I'll probably check those after I put it together to see if I really did put it together. So one thing I didn't notice until receiving the package is that this is electric. After noticing all of the attachments that were included, I was a little bit overwhelmed. So I did take a look at the instructions, but it was pretty straightforward. So I went ahead and put it together how I thought it would be fit. It does come with a lot of end attachments, but you'll see the one that I end up using for majority of my tests, just because I noticed this gave me the best result. You do want to stay to the end of the video though to see my full honest opinion on it, because it might shock you. Again, with all of the pieces that you have here, it might feel a little bit overwhelming, so just take a second look at the instructions and see how it needs to go. First, I'm going to talk about some of the issues I've had with it. So this is a gravel vacuum, but in my larger system I have very fine sand, so I wanted to use it just to see if I could clean the sand pretty well. With the video captured, you could see that I was pulling up some sand, but I was dispersing sand throughout the tank more than anything. Needless to say, it is not a sand vacuum as the box implied. It is a gravel vacuum. But I was hoping that I would be able to clean the sand bed, not just a gravel bed. I noticed being that the sand was so small, it was coming through the outlet that feeds back into the tank, so the tank got very cloudy very quick, which is not something you want to see. Especially when you're cleaning gravel as well, some of the particulates that you want to capture are going to be that small. It was a lot of back and forth, a lot of turning on and turning off, which leads me to my second point. Something else I didn't like with it was the cable. Yes, it is electric, so it's going to need to get the power some way, but the cable was so short, and then the on off switch was set back so far. It was very complex. As you could see, I did change the attachment just to try with the sand. Didn't do anything, so I ended up taking that off. But as it relates to that switch, you'll realize that you need it so much. As you can see, I'm holding the switch in my hand because one, the vacuum would get clogged so quickly. Again, it's made for gravel, not for sand, but it would get clogged so quickly I would have to turn it off and turn it off. I ended up taking off the attachment just to see how powerful the pump was. It was not as powerful as I would hope. Bear in mind, this is the lower of the two in terms of power that they sent. And yes, Hygger did send me this. I did not pay for it. They sent it to me so I could try it and give my honest opinion on it. Here, as I went over to the frag tank, I have a container filled with some gravel. This is where I have my Kenya tree grab onto rock as it self propagates. But as I was saying before, this sponge right there clogged so quick. I've already taken it out, washed it so that it was a fresh start and it didn't have the sand in there. But within about 5 seconds of me running it, it got clogged. Something else that you have to bear in mind whenever you're doing this is how far up you're going to have the outspout. If you're going to have it pretty low to the pump or pretty high. At first I wanted it pretty low, but then I noticed it was kicking up a lot of the debris that I'm trying to vacuum, so I put it up further. Once I put it up further, you then have to watch where it is, because a few times as I'm going through just vacuuming, I turned the handle to the point that the outlet was sitting outside of the tank, making a mess. So that's something you want to be cautious of while you're vacuuming, that the outlet is still aimed into the tank, returning the water in to the tank. As I said before, you could still get smaller particulates coming through that outlet. So in some cases, you will have some debris going back into the tank. But it did work pretty well, apart from the fact that every few seconds I had to stop, turn it on, turn it off, turn it off, turn it back on to make it work. You can see a lot of bubbles. That's how I know it's working. I'm also looking at the outlet. If I don't see a steady flow of water coming out, then I know it's not pulling. So this item is advertised as 5-in-1. After running through, I realized this attachment was the one that really did any type of cleaning for me. And again, it is a gravel vacuum, not a sand vacuum, which I was hoping that I would be able to clean my sand bed with, but I was unsuccessful in properly cleaning the sand bed. But it does work very well on the gravel bed. So if it is that you have a larger substrate or a larger rock substrate, then this would work best for you. If it is that you have more of a fine bed, I think mine is Fiji pink. So this did not help me at all as it pertains to the bigger tank. But as you can see with the gravel, I'm able to vacuum out all of the dirt that's in there. Would I recommend this to anyone? For me, if you already have a manual gravel vacuum, I don't see the point in picking up one of these. If you feel like you could pull a little bit more power through the sand bed with it, by all means. The major difference with the manual cleaners that I have versus this is the, you could say, serrated end, which I think allows for you to vacuum more effectively over some of the traditional gravel vacuums that just have a straight edge. This does have some grooves on it, and I feel like that is the main game changer in it. Again, this item was sent to me, and I was just doing a test. But the fact that, one, I had to be monitoring how far the cable, the fact that I had to monitor where the on off switch was, and the outlet while using it, and outlet referring to where the water was returning into the tank, made it a little bit more of a hassle to clean it rather than what I feel like the manual gravel cleaners are. Take that with a grain of salt or a grain of sand, if you will. I believe with a little bit more R&D, this could be a product that is much easier for the consumer to use. Until next time, keep reefing.